about the collection data types: list, set, and map. Okay, first let's see the list. Usually, if you have seen the data types, we have already know that data types are different data types. Is primitive data types, and then collection data types, and user defined data types. Okay, so we have already seen the primitive data types. Then user defined data type means you have already created some classes and created the objects for them using constructor. Okay, now collection data type. What is a collection data type? What do you mean by collection? Collection means group, right? Means more than one, right? So if you want to store more than one value into a single variable, then you can go for collections. Okay, first thing is list. Okay, list is an ordered collection element. Okay, we can say that list is a order based collection. Okay, and there is a group of values. List is a group of values whose order will be maintained. Means its order will start from 0 to it, thus the order will start from 0, and then maximum number of elements is size. So we can have size. So maximum index is size minus 1. I'll help you to understand how it works. Okay, so just a list is a ordered based collection. It index starts from 0, means order starts from 0. Okay, so the maximum index is the number of elements minus 1. Okay, so let's say how it goes. In your list you can store any number of values, but whenever you are performing the DML operations like inserting or updating, deleting or undeleting, whatever it is, okay, the maximum number of records in the list should be less than or equals to 10,000. It should not be more than 10,000, because if you have already seen the data load, right, data loader, in the data loader we have some settings like using bulk API. So if you see the bulk API, the batch size should be less than or equals to 10,000. Okay, so means at a time if you want to perform any DML operations, the maximum number of records can be stored into the list is 10,000. Okay, if you have more than 10,000, then it will throw an error. Okay, so you know that in data loader there will be batch size. It starts from 1 to 2000, right? The maximum is 2000. So if you use normally APIs, but if you use a bulky API, then 10,000 will be there. Okay, so that's very much important point. Then so we have already seen that list is an ordered based collection, or list is an index based collection. Okay, now list index always starts from 0. Okay, now how it goes, let's say here, so this will be like this. If I have a list, name is like numbers. Okay, so now the list, when you create a list, it allocates the memory first. Okay, now when you add a value, then it will go at the first position. It will be in the form of racks. Okay, this is 1 and this is third. Okay, like this. Now so when you add the first number, it will go to here, Then if you add another number, another rack will be created. So it will be dynamically created. The size will be initially it will be 0. There will be no record. It will be empty. Okay, it allocates memory. After adding the value, it will start the positions. Means here this is the index. Index is 0. Means the one position is 0, two position is 1, three position is 2. Like this, you can store any type of data into the list. Okay, so first understand that list is an ordered based collection. List index starts from 0. Okay, and then how to create, okay, how to create a list object. Let's say what we can say that usually when we were discussing about the variables, okay, first thing is what we were doing, first data type, then variable name, then any initial value or something. This is also right. This is what we have learned about the data types, like primitive data types, right? Now for the collection data types, the syntax will be different. For list it will be different, and for list and set it will be same. For map it will be different. So you should learn. First thing, list, set, map are classes. Okay, you know the class, right? So you have created a lot of classes and you have created the objects also, right? When you were creating the object for a class, then it was class name, then object name, new, then class name. This is constructor, right? So this is what we have done till now for creating an object for a class. Okay? The same way, list, set, map all classes. We know that. Now, to create an object, the same syntax, list L equals to new list. Now we have to create an object first. But here, let's say this is the list variable. You are going to store more than one value, right? In the list, if you are storing more than one value, so what is the data type, the data type of those values? Are you going to store string? Are you going to store date? Are you going to store any integers? Are you going to store decimal values? Are we going to store any user defined data types like objects, or what you are going to store into that, right? So whenever you are storing one value by declaring a primitive data types, then you are specifying data type name, right? Now you are storing more than one value into the list, then what type of data you are going to store into the list, right? So that you have to mention. For mentioning that, you have to give less than greater than symbol, and here you have to make data type. Means in this list what type of data you are going to store, you have to mention as, okay, this is what the syntax, list data type, then L equals to new list of data type. Okay, now here example is, if you want to store integer, you can have nums equals to new list of, then first now you have just initiated or you have created an object. Okay, now you have to store the values, right? Now you have an object, but into that list you have to send some values. You have to store some numbers, like let's say 1 to 10 I have to store. Okay, how can we do that? So as we know that this is a class, and for the class we have all instance methods in the list. Okay, so when we say that list, or let's say instance methods, then you should create an object. Through the object you have to call the instance method, right? let's see what are the different instance methods we have. Let's say in the list, first what we can do, we can add the values, we can remove the values, and we can replace the values. Okay, we can add, we can remove, and we can replace. We can sort also. Okay, we can sort and we can compare. Lot of things are there. For each and every functionality, if you want to add a value, we have a method. If you want to remove a value, you have a method. Okay, if you want to uh, replace a value, then you have a method. Okay, so all are instance methods means you should always create a class object. You have to create an object first for the collection variable or collection, then you have to call those methods. Okay, first let's say if I want to store three numbers into a list, let's see how to write list integer nums, this is a variable name, equals to new list of integer. Now how can I add a value? Okay, so for adding a value you have a method called list dot, let's say here it is nums, object dot method name, you have to call instance methods add of whatever the value you want to store. Just let's say 10 I want to store. But if you give some string or something, then it will throw the error because incorrect data type, right? Because you have declared the list as integer. Okay, only integers can be accepted. Let me show the methods on list. You guys have already downloaded the Apex or not? Even as you have internet, right? Simply what you can do is list methods in okay, that will go to the same page. So, while discussing the constructor, we have already seen the default constructors and parameterized constructors. Okay, so in list also you have two kind of constructors. This is the default constructor. Okay, and there are already the constructor which is already defined. You can't create new methods into the list or set or map. You just can reuse them. You just have to use the methods to operate the collections. You cannot create or edit or delete the methods from the list class, and you cannot see the code also. Okay, here is the list. So there is the constructor, there is the default constructor, and another parameterized constructor means list of data type, then constructor, and we are passing list, another list means if you want to copy the values of one list into another list, then you can use this one. And set is also a collection. Okay, it also stores group of values, but there will be no order. That's it. Okay, don't worry, you can write it later. Okay, so these are the constructors. Okay, list constructor, and these are the methods we have. Okay, so you should learn all the methods. If you miss it, then I can't do anything. First thing, if you want to store a value, you have to use add method. Add and element. What is element? Either it may be string, or it may be integer, or it may be some other data type, or it may be S object, whatever it is. Then how can we decide whether it is string or how it is? So while creating the list, you have already declared the type, right? Here. So you have already declared this integer, right? Integer is the data type you have declared. So when you are calling the add method, then you should pass only integer value. That means list. See here, list of integer, my list equals to new list of integer. Then my list dot add of 47. Okay, so this is how you have to use this add method. Okay, so let's practice that. Let's say list of integer nums dot add of nums dot add of so list allows the duplicates. Means if you have already stored 10 value once, and again if you give 10, it takes it. Okay, so the major thing when someone asks about list, you have to mention that list is an ordered based collection. It allows duplicates. The index starts from 0. The maximum number of elements can be stored is infinite, but when you are performing the DML operations, so when you declare as S object, okay, so if you declare the data type as S object or any custom object, then maximum number of elements should be stored in the list is 10,000. That's it. Okay, then you have the methods for adding a value, you can use like this. Okay, so now very simple, let's print. Print like this, it will show the result here. See this, 10, 20, 30, 10. So it maintains the order, whatever the order you have created. I mean, whenever the first value 10 is inserted, then 20, then 30, again 10, the same order it has maintained. Okay, so now the position of those elements are, it will be at 0, it will be at 1, it will be at 2, it will be at 3. What is the use of index? We are saying that index, right? So the list index starts from 0, we are saying, right? The maximum number of index is number of elements minus 1. Means here the elements are 1, 2, 3, 4. Then maximum index is 4 minus 1, because the index is starting from 0, right? Now, so what is the use of this index? If you want to get a value, or if you want to replace a value, okay, so even if you want to remove a value, then the index is very much important. Okay, so index is replace, replacing or removing, or for getting a value also. Okay, so the index is very useful. Let's say, so here, and there is another method. So if you are having integer or something, if you want to sort the values, let's say 10 is at 0 position, 20, 30, then again 10, right? Now what you can do is, you have already seen that output, right? Now nums dot sort, all are instance methods. You should understand that, because we have created an object and calling the methods, right? So when you are working with collections like list or set or map, whatever it is, all are classes, and all methods are instance methods. You should always create class object and then use it. Okay, now if you sort it, what happens is 10, then 10, then 20, after 30, it will be just sorted in the ascending order. Okay, so just see this. 10, 10, 20, 30. That is the use of sort. Okay, so here we have seen two things. One is add, another one is sort. Okay, now here, okay, so the add return type is void. It doesn't return anything. Okay, now you have another method. Let's say here I have 0, 1, 2, 3 positions. At second position I have 30. Okay, so what I need to do is, at second position I need to store 40. Okay, so what I'm going to do is nums dot add of the same way. Then here the syntax is index comma element. Okay, means you have already the list. Okay, in that list, at particular position, if you want to store some value, it's at second position, I want to store 50, then you should give 2 comma 50, means at second position you are going to store the 2, I mean 50. The 50 values should be stored at second position. Okay, just execute this and see. 10, 20 means 10 is 0, 20 is first position, 50 is at second position. Okay, so this is just for adding a value in between of the elements. Okay, if you have already the list, then if you want to store somewhere, let's say if I have 0, 1, 2, 3, 3 positions only. So if I want to store another value at fourth position, if you want to give, then you should not give an index, because the list index is ended at third position. If you give 4, try this list index out of bounds exception, means list index is out of bound, means the bound is already over, the boundaries line is crossed, because index is ends at third position. Okay, so you might be receiving these kind of errors while writing the programs also. List index out of bound exception. Okay, so then you should think that the list of values are not up to the that specified index. Okay, so then you should always use the index size, you should be careful. Okay, now let's say if you want to replace your value, you know that at 0 position 10, first position set 20, second position is 50, third position 30, fourth position 10, means you when you inserted a new element in between of the elements, then automatically those elements will be shifted down, means those index will be just moved back. Okay, so if you insert a value at second position, then whatever the element was there at second position will be moved to third position. Third element will be 4, 4 will be 5, and so on. That will be keep on moving. Okay, so careful. And then let's say at third position what it will be there? Third position 30 will be there, right? So if I want to replace, then how can I do this? Okay, how to do this? Nums dot replace of index and then value. The same way, replace index and value. At what position you are going to replace? Okay, let's say at third position I'm going to add 300. Just execute. No, we have to give second. So replace is there at set, not in the list. Sorry. So only the method is remove is there. If you want to remove a value, what we can do is nums dot remove of index. What is the index is there? Let's say if you want to remove from third position, then you can give remove 3. So when you remove a value which is in between of the element, then the index will be moved front. Means it will be 1 minus 1. Okay, so now just see this. At third position it should be 30. Now it should be removed. 10, 20, there is no 30, 50 and then 10 again. Okay, so these are the different methods we have. So actually what we have done is, did you note down? We used that nums dot replace, right? Then element. This is not the replace, set. Okay, so not replace. To replace a value, we have a method called set. Means, so when you want to set a value at specified position, okay, then you can use set of index comma element. Means at the third position, if you want to set third position, then you are giving 300 value, then 30 will be replaced with 300. The method name is, for replacing we have a method called set, not replace. Okay, just execute. Actually replace method is there in the string class. Okay, string class. Okay, 10, 20, 30, sorry, 10, 20, 50, then 30 has been replaced with 300 at position number 4. 3, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, yes. Okay, now let's say if you have list 1 is there, I want to create another list with the same values. So now I just need to create another list with same values. Create another list with same values as nums. In this case, what you can do is list of integer nums2 equals to new list of integer. This is how we have to create the list, right? Now there is a method called AddAll. Okay, so if you have another list or another set with same data type, and if you have more than one value or only whatever the values you have, so if you want to copy them into another list, nums dot add all of, whether it may be list or set, you can give list or set with same data type. Means it should be same integer data type. Okay, so here nums is there, there is the variable, this is the object name, list variable, list object, whatever you want you can call. Simply you just pause that object. Okay, so if you want to create a list with the copy of another list, just use AddAll. Now here you have a method called AddAll. The first way is, or let's say you can have way number one, create a list and use AddAll. So here it may be the parameter, it may be list or set with same data type. So now here nums2. Okay, now use system dot same order, same elements will be there. Just use this. Same order, same elements will be there. This is one way of creating the list with the copy of another list. And there is another way, second way, using parameterized constructor. First way is using method. Second way is using constructor. How to use this? List of 3 equals to new list of, then here you can pause. So we have already seen that constructor. What will be the constructor? It will be here list to copy. You can give list variable, this, that's it. Here list of nums, whatever the list you have to copy to the another list, that list or set also you can give, and that will create in the same order. Now if you want to see this, so the same result will be there. You can copy the list into another list using two ways: by creating the a list with constructor, parameterized constructor, or using the method AddAll method. Okay, so when you say that AddAll, then the parameter should be list or set only. You cannot give 10 or 20 the individual elements. You cannot give. If you want to give individual element, then you should always use add method only. Okay, now what happens if you use, let's say, nums3 dot add all of, or let's say nums. Okay, so if you add like this, what happens? First the list will be created with 5 elements or 4 elements, what are the elements that is there in the nums, and again it will come to the line number 16. It again add the values from nums1 to nums3, nums2, nums3, because list allows the duplicate values. If we give 10 times, then it will store 10 at 10 times. 10 tens will be there. Okay, so there will be no validations and nothing. So the list allows duplicate values. Now let's see. Okay, in the same order. Okay, so that's how the list works for creating another list. Just let's see the another way. Third way to copy the values are, let's say, list of so from nums, listen here. So if you want to copy the values from another list to this list, nums dot clone method is there. Then what happens is, whatever the values or whatever the list, this list is having the values, the same values clone. Clone means Xerox. Just copied into this one. And if you want to display that, just use this. Clone means just Xerox. Okay, that is the third way. First one is AddAll, second one is Constructor, third one is method called clone. Okay, so let's use equals method. Okay, if you want to compare two lists, okay, if you want to compare two lists whether they are having the same values in the same order, okay, then you can use equals. Equals will return nums dot two, right? So here nums1 is having five values, one, two, three, four values, right? So five values are there, and then here it is having 10 values because we have added twice. So it should return false. True or not. We have added only once, right? So if you add again, let's say if you use like this, means there will be twice, values will be added twice. Then now it should give false. Same numbers, I mean the same values in the same order, then only it will return true. Okay, otherwise it will return false. Okay, so that's one thing, equals method. And you have, so if you want to just to debug the whether it is equals or not, simply you can use like here also, you don't need to store the, but my intention is what equals method will return, it returns true or false. Okay, so that is the intention of this. Now let's say I want to get the index of one specific element. Okay, then you have a method called index of. Index of. Index of, it returns index. Index means integer. It may be 0, 1, 2, 3, whatever it is. Okay, so let's say integer x equals to nums dot index of whatever the element you have. So usually this is at third position, right? Simply index. So you have another method called clear. Clear means just remove all the values. Nums dot remove all elements from the list. Okay, clear means it just remove all the elements from the list. Then if you want to see whether there is an element or not, okay, if you want to check whether there is 100 or not in the list, okay, so then what you can say is contents of 100. Then if you want to check whether it is there or not, then it returns true or false. Okay, so use false because there is no 100 in the list. Okay, that is contains. There is another method called isEmpty. So this method we will be keep on using in the code. Okay, is empty means if there is no values in the list, it returns true. If there is any single value also, it returns false. Is empty means is there a values in the list or okay? It returns true or false. If there are values in the collection variable, then it returns false. If there is no value, it returns. We have another method called size. Okay? This is empty and size. We are going to use much in the coding. Okay? Size means what are the values, what are the number of values we have in the list. Here we have 4 values or 5 values. Five values. So the size will be 5. Index will be 4. Okay. So the number of elements in the list, that's called size. Okay. So size and then is empty. Is empty will return true or false, and size will return the number of elements. If there are no elements, then it returns 0. Okay, note down that. So we have a method to get the value from list, that is called get of get a value from list from specified index. Syntax is get of index. Okay, this is very important method. Now let's say I want to get a value. So as it is integer list, then it returns integer value. Integer of num equals to, say I want to get it from position 3, then nums dot get of 3. Okay, so whatever the value you want to get from which index, then you have to give like this num at 3 is okay, simple. Just try to execute. Says at 3 300 is there. Okay, so to get a value from specified index of the list, then the method is get of index. Write a program to store 1 to 10, or let's say 1 to 100, whatever it is. Okay, so first if you want to store the values, then you should have list of so if you want to print 1 to 100, you have already a program integer program you have already done, right? So instead of debugging, what you are going to do, what happens? First one will be stored, 2, 3, 4, 5 till 100 it will be stored. Finally, what you are going to do? System dot